That's it right there, T-Nip.
What's up, YouTubers? It's CrownSpectro here with another video for you guys, and today we're going to be talking about something that's been going on a lot lately, alright? You guys are pretty much aware of all the delayed games that's been happening with basically a lot of games. Avengers, let's see, Final Fantasy, Cyberpunk, what else? This is another game that got recently delayed, like what, 2 days ago was that announced, or was it? Yeah, Dying Light. Dying Light is also joined with, sadly, it has also been delayed. Unlike the other delayed game, Dying Light 2 does not have a current, rescheduled date for when they're gonna release the game. It just they delayed the game. It was originally gonna come out in spring, and now it's not gonna come out. But I'm here to talk about the reason behind all these delayed games. Now, I'm not saying this is concrete proof information truth, but here's what I really think about, why these games are being delayed. Because, like, at first I didn't pay it no mind, it was like, developers want to improve their games and stuff, and they want to make sure the games in top notch shit, and I don't mind developers delaying their game. But now, it's starting to seem like a trend, it doesn't matter, one, two, or three games get delayed, but then it's start when you start hitting 4 5, start building up a little bit, then you start wondering, like, what is the cause of all these delayed games all of a sudden. Now, it's true, maybe the main reason is that these games are just not complete, and they're not going to make the deadline by what the developers want, how they want the game to be. The game's not going to meet the deadline how they want it to be. Now, that's understandable. But what I'm very curious about is, like, it's like kind of like, yeah, it's kind of feeling like there's a little something else to this. Now, Dying Light 2, of course, I truly feel that they just didn't feel the game was going to be ready by spring, and if they don't feel like the game is not going to be ready, then it's not going to be ready. Now, as for the other games, well, honestly, at first it started off, I think it was Avengers, right? And Avengers got delayed, okay, as usual, it was a Square Enix game, and Final Fantasy got delayed as well, the remake, Final Fantasy 7. But they got a rescheduled release date, so it's still gonna come out in spring. That's still making this. It's been delayed to April, I believe. So yeah, it's gonna still make its debut in springtime. But as for the other games, they're not gonna reach until September. Also, yes, that's the other game I think I was forgetting. Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk 2077 is also being delayed all the way to September. So it's like all these games all of a sudden being delayed to September. And it seems like September seems to be the little key deadline month. Now, honestly, you can't help but think that they decided to delay these games for two reasons. One, the game just wasn't complete. Honestly, the game just wasn't meeting up to their expectations, and they knew the game wasn't gonna meet up to their expectations of how they wanted the game to be by springtime, which is understandable. But as for the other games, Cyberpunk, I feel like they kind of just wanted to. Maybe there was a couple things, they kinks and stuff they want to work out the game, but I feel like the game could have been made. It could have been ready by spring. I feel like that they kind of want to wait it until around the same time new consoles come out. That everybody's gonna be buying games during this time. All right, if you want to drop and release a new game, then honestly, releasing it around September would be a good time. Not to mention September is also around the same month, Bobby. Like it's a month and a half before Thanksgiving, so. And there's a lot of things, going on. People start buying, start thinking about Christmas. It's a lot going on, all right. During those months, of course, everybody's gonna be looking forward to the PS5 and the Xbox One Series X, or whatever else new console is coming out during that time. And during that time, kids, may ask for a new game. They may want to play the new game, new console comes out, and they're gonna need a game to play with that. Now, some kids, may end up getting a PS4 instead, or some kids, well, a lot of kids may be getting a PS5. Differs, right? Different families, different homes, and if you think about it, all these kids, when they get their parents, they're gonna go to GameStop or wherever else they want to go buy the games from, and they're gonna hear all these new games coming out in September. Avengers, Cyberpunk, all these games we already been looking forward to. Now, I believe that Avengers and Cyberpunk are going to make it to the PS5. I'm not entirely sure about that. Honestly, I didn't look too deep into that. I'm not sure if Avengers and Cyberpunk and all that's going to go on PS5 as well. But I would like to think so, since how like it's going to be it's only like a couple months away. When you say like it's probably like 2 or 3 months before like two. Let's see, September, right? Then October, then November. So it's like what, two months or 3 months if you count like the first half of December. And it's like, yeah, like it might as well make it to the PS5 as well. I like to think that, yeah, that PS5 is indeed going to be having, Marvel Avengers. It might not be like on the day one when the game comes out. These games might not be up there on day one, but I feel like they are indeed going to make it very early on in the life of PS5, or an Xbox. They may be on these games, on these new consoles, very early on in the life of them. So, with that being said, as we all know, when you get a new console and the day one games, of course everybody's gonna play the day one games. Typically when you buy your console, you might get a game with it, or the game might just come with the console. Now, here's a problem that we pretty sure we all face when we do get new consoles. Is when you play your day one games. Well, day one games last maybe a week, depending on what sort of day one game you're getting. Maybe a week or maybe 2 weeks at most. All right, depending on how long the game is, depending on how much time you put into the game. Let's be honest here. And a lot of times, during this time period, people might just be on their Christmas breaks. Taking some time off from work, school, wherever else they may be usually doing their daily lives. And you take this break, you're playing this game, you beat this game, you may got a couple days left for your break. What are you going to play? You know, day one games are nice and everything, but let's be perfectly honest here. Day one games don't last that very long. And I pretty much remember during the time for PS4's day one, point in their lifespan, 2014, day one, I can't even remember the day one game I ended up getting for. I think it was Killzone. The day one game I got for my PS4. That was a fun game and everything, but it didn't hold me very long. All right, I wanted another game like probably like a week, maybe like less than that, maybe like 3 days after I had my PS4. I was already ready to play something else different, but it's not that many games out, so the only option is just to get another day one game. Well, day one games, are indeed they're pretty good. Infamous has always been a pretty good day one game. So that's the second game I believe I ended up getting. And that was a really fun game to play, and it held me for a while. But if they had games like Marvel Avengers and not Final Fantasy, but Cyberpunk 2077 that come out like maybe that next week after the new gen consoles come out, these games come out on the PS5, then yes, that's even more sales going on to this game because people are going to buy this game. All right, they're going to buy these games. Because I mean, the PS5 new gen console's not gonna have that many games on them to begin with, but you still gotta account for the fact that apparently PS5 and Xbox Series X is supposed to have the backwards compatibility. Now you guys may be thinking, how did I get so far into the subject? Well, this all plays to the fact of all these delayed games. You gotta think about it. This is kind of smart if you really think about it. It could also be a bad thing and a good thing. If you buy a new console, then it could be a high possibility that these Cyberpunk and Avengers and all these other games or Dying Light, even though Dying Light doesn't have a rescheduled release date, I like to think that Dying Light may just end up being rescheduled around that time, around maybe like October, maybe a little later. I feel like they may end up being rescheduled around that time. Whenever they do announce that, of course. And these new gen consoles, they're gonna come out with these, like I said before, new day one games. People gonna play day one games. They're gonna do their thing, and then you're gonna want to play something else. These PS5 games. And I'm not sure how soon will these Marvel Avenger games and these Cyberpunk will be on the PS5. I'm not sure. I'm not sure when the game comes out. They're gonna release a PS4 version and a PS5 version at the same time, or they're just gonna release the PS4 version. I like to think they're just gonna release the PS4 version and then they're gonna release the PS5 version of it. After the new gen consoles come out, and then maybe probably like a week or so, maybe 2 weeks later. I like to think that. I hope so. I hope they don't wait like 2 or 3 months after the console comes out, because then that's gonna be a pretty bored point for us. But hopefully, it's backwards compatibility. From what I'm hearing, that PS5 is supposed to have backwards compatibility up and coming for the new gen consoles. So for both of them, supposed to have backwards compatibility. So I'm hoping for the best. And then maybe put some more PS4 games to the PS5, and you got something going. But anyways, these delay games, it may not be the baddest idea. It may not be the brightest idea. But at the end of the day, I feel like I'm glad that these developers taking their time into these games, and I look forward to seeing these games develop into something very great. And who knows? These games might just have a bright future ahead of us. And of course, the new gen console is showing us much more. You guys tell me what you think down in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.